señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todo se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hasta dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi visión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Good morning, good morning. Hey, Ikemba, did you check the chat? Did you check the chat?
Peace, everybody.
Hey, your mic is off, man. Your mic.
Welcome to the Rise Up International Morning Show.
Hey, rise up, man. I got energy like it's 1 in the afternoon right now, bro.
You ready to go, huh?
I'm ready.
What you on that CMOS? You on that CMOS?
I'm about to get on that CMOS. I'm about to get on that. You already know I'm about to make some life altering changes, man. You know,
that's what's up.
Coming up. So yeah, about to get on a new path. We going into well, according to the calendar that we're on, the European, Western calendar, we're going into 2025. But in reality, we on African time. So I don't know what year it is.
The Ethiopian.
I ain't gonna make anything up right now.
According to the Ethiopian calendar, what would? Because I know, the Ethiopian calendar is what we do.
Roman Greco. We on some Roman Greco time right now. The Ethiopian calendar, I'm not sure.
Yo,
but whatever. We on African time. That's what time we on. Bro.
All day, every day. Yo, it's been a while since it's been the four of us here.
I know.
Yeah. Maybe that's where the energy coming from.
I was that's it, man. I was telling Comrade Kemba the other day that I heard the crowd's favorite is Natasha and Isaac. That's what I heard. They got something going on over there.
Well, the Libras. You know how we give it up.
Exactly.
So me and Fernando, we said we're gonna show up today.
Right. We're gonna squat up on y'all.
Okay.
You see them two? You see they over there on that side. We over here on this side.
We over here on the east side. We over here on the east side.
Actually, what we need to do is we need to move. We need to move y'all to the bottom. Have
Damn.
It's like that.
Wow.
Yo, stop it.
Hey, the rise uppers ain't going like that, man. They not going like that.
No, we all on the same.
The uprisers. I'm joking.
We all equal. We all on the same level,
No doubt.
Yeah.
And it's the uprisers. I'm just messing with y'all. I know what y'all. What's happening though, man? What's happening? Hey,
let us know. Hey, are you you said we need some dancers in that music video.
Yeah,
I heard
but
you got
no Ray gun.
You got that connection to Ray gun, my guy. What's going on?
Hey, no ray gun to 340 MS, man. No ray gun to my crew, man. Yeah, chill out with that.
No doubt, man.
I think after, you know how like in the Olympics, after the whole Ray Gun incident, they were like, "Oh, we're not gonna have no breakdancing in the Olympics again." that'll be like a Fernando's group. Like after Ray Gun, that's it.
Hey, don't give that person no more airtime, man. But what's been going on though, man? How y'all feeling?
I could say
I guess not well.
No, I mean another brother from the diaspora, shot, dead. Organizations not really saying things about it out here that we're very loud and proud about other causes and situations that happen abroad that are connected.
What's the situation though? Talk about that. Who got shot?
An African man from the diaspora was shot in the head after calling police.
Oh yeah, saw that
to help him in an intruder that was coming in, and due to further investigation, they had came out with evidence, I guess, to prove that he knew the person who was an intruder and that this was a domestic dispute. And that she had confessed to the policy officers, to the pigs, that she wanted them to shoot her. So she had orchestrated, she had basically premeditated this issue that had gotten this man killed, regardless if it was her that wanted to be killed versus him actually being the one that was shot in the head. And then 5 times after, she caused this whole entire issue. Now my issue with this is that, people will look at this and from our diaspora and be like, oh, this is why we needed, why to try and justify voting under the means of the system, or saying that we could ratify even an institution that we know is historically embedded in settler colonial chattel slavery, to be exact. We know that this is its history. And people get surprised when they find out that the guy that shot him in the head now has paid leave. This is status quo. This is also something that I would have to say we have to start questioning how the co-optation of unions justifies these guys, these policy officers, for getting uberous amounts of money for sitting at home, for killing portions of our communities. In cold blood, assassinating them in their own home. This man has to, this man's children have to grow up with them not being able to be in at any portions of graduations, birthdays, any personal events. We all know that, we want our parents, potentially to be there. They will not be able to see that. And the Metropolitan Police have then decided to putting him on paid leave, which we all know is just a form of silencing. It's a form of saying that they're going to fix the situation. They're investigating the situation, when in actuality, they're trying to mitigate the situation by silencing it so that the community doesn't come out in the way that it should, which is, an outbreak of the fact that another African brother, just like an African sister in her own home, just in a different portion of the occupied territories of Turtle Island, was killed, was slain in her own home, and so that would be my report. I've been, trying to get in contact with the family. I got in contact with the attorney, and so I'm hoping that I can bring them on next week, so that at least we can speak about this, since there is no other network that's going to talk about it. No one else is going to talk about our brothers and sisters that are being murdered on the street, that are being killed by these policy officers. And I think it's needed. It's a duty for us here at Black Power Media Reloaded to do that. Which we have a comrade, a sister who sits in for Jordan Neely's case. We were literally just talking about that off air. So I'm deeply upset, frustrated with certain organizations out here that say they stand in solidarity with Black lives in Las Vegas, but have been very silent on this issue. Completely silent, to say the least. They would rather talk about union workers, picketing at Virgin Hotels here in Las Vegas, which is still a valid, protest. People deserve workers' rights, but we have to. There has to be some collective solidarity, and I think it hasn't been there for a very long time, and I think me being a part of the diaspora is just kind of tired of seeing it. So I did good this time, Natasha. I didn't say any F words. I didn't say I got that all out clear and concise. So
Natasha been coaching you? She been coaching you? Huh?
No, I just have been taking my comrades' words, to heart. Is that when we get on here, we have to have a level of professionalism, and I could be mad, but I could say things in a way that makes it sound like an F word, but it's not being said in an F word. I could. So, yeah. But yeah, sorry to prolong that, my guy, Ikemba. My bad.
You were gonna say something.
Yeah, you were gonna say something. I didn't know.
No, go ahead. No, I appreciate that update. Appreciate that update for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know if y'all wanted to say anything. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with Isaac. I think in the similar. I don't. What date was it that the incident that the issue where the brother was assassinated?
This was, I want to say, less than 5 days ago. I could actually pull up the article because I was looking at it.
Yeah, because I remember just yesterday reading a little bit about it and thinking similar things like you were just saying, Isaac. And I think like you're saying, and I started calling you Isaac like Fernando does, but it's
it's completely fine.
But no, I think that like it's really, really important, like you were saying, for us to make sure that we're highlighting and keeping abreast of these stories, because even currently within New York there was an incident, not an incident where someone was killed, and this is not an incident that was has been like put out there in the media, because we're still trying to figure out, okay, what happened, what's involved, like, and get some of the moving pieces before we do anything. But it's just like there's constantly so much, and we need to be making sure that people understand it, because people will think that things have died down, things have really changed, but things are still going on, and it's a matter of whether they're being, and people are being informed about them, and whether they're being placed within the proper light, or if they're not.
Yeah, and so this happened, and that's actually one thing too that I want to talk about is that when it comes to our people being murdered and assassinated, or even being treated foully, it's not mainstream media. It's not quality for mainstream media. So we have to go to other places, or we have to put this out there so much, on social media, that it gets, a hold of certain individuals to where they can't not report about it anymore. But yeah, this man was, I don't want to justify anything that these fucking policy officers do, but one of the things that was going on around was that they were trying to say that, oh, there's a mass transient issue in Las Vegas. Now I can say when people say transient or homeless person or homeless displacement, I know the difference between the two. I know the difference between someone who comes from generational wealth that lives out here, that lives out on the street, and they just like living out on the street, and they get a monthly income. Their fucking family comes and they drop them off some money, and then that's that. I've seen that from my own eyes out here in Las Vegas. I've seen people literally come out of the sewer. I mean, literally come out of a manhole. And that's just a normal occurrence. I have seen that there are different forms of people, but nonetheless, this man was in his home. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to, us to open up the floor to what we wear at night, but this man was in his home, and I feel it very weird at the fact that you looked at the person who had just boxers on, and then you looked at the person who has a hoodie and a knife in his hand and decided to say, oh, the person with the hoodie lives here in some instance.
So the person with the hoodie has a knife in their hand?
the person with the hoodie had caused so much damage, like around the house. Like they had made a confession to the policy officers when they stated, I wanted this to happen, just I wanted it to be me. I wanted you guys to shoot me. So had premeditated this whole issue, and it caused this individual who then called the police, which again, we have to start teaching our African communities that these policy officers were never and will never be here to help us. They're not here to help us. They make shit worse, and they always will make shit worse because that's what they're trained to do. That's why they put the large quantities of squad patrols in our communities, because they know what they're doing is vile. And it's again the same tactics that we see in Palestine in the West Bank. Them just going around doing whatever the hell they want, to citizens, and these occupied territories, and then just getting away with it. Paid leave, so to say. Shoot at children, you get an award. In Israel, it's that's the type of behavior that we're bringing here to these occupied territories. Is that this man gets a reward, for shooting somebody that had called him for help? That's murder to me, So but to answer their question, this happened, I want to say like less than 5 days ago. And people are just getting around to hearing and understanding what's going on. And that's also something that's big too here in Las Vegas, is that they like to silence, when the police get caught doing some shit that they're not supposed to. There's an investigation going on where there was a whole group of policy officers that were literally arresting people on the strip for just nothing. They would just pick and choose who they wanted to, and it was predominantly Black and Indigenous communities that they were going after, and were arresting them. And it was a whole goon squad that was doing it, and they were robbing people for their money. They weren't putting their money in the evidence. This is like their way of getting. These are gangs. These are thugs. These are individuals that get paid to do and inflict harm onto us, and then get people to manipulate or manipulated into believing that they're for us, and they're not. They never have, they never will. Policy officer. That's what they are, to uphold the policy of the bourgeois and haute bourgeois state. That's all they're intended to do.
Earlier, man, you spoke about certain organizations or whatever not covering this, and obviously we know that there's a lot going on, but I agree with you. When something like this happens, it's important. It's important for us to cover this. And unfortunately, some of these organizations or whatever political parties or whatever they are, some of them, they're in it for the shine or for the clicks or whatever. That's just the reality of it. To go back to what you were speaking about, you spoke about the importance of our people understanding the importance of not calling the police, right? And I think that's a key point. But that's also the problem with that, is that not the problem, but the thing is that it's up to us also to organize better, within our communities, so that we have things in place for when people are in need of help. You know what I'm saying? And that's up to us. And I definitely know that's something that I have to do a better job of, within my neighborhood over here and all of that. We have to organize more. We have to be more prepared for things like that. And, like, even when police is around for whatever reason, anytime we know by experience, definitely, like, anytime police is around our neighborhood, it's something negative, something negative gonna happen or whatever. So they're never here for good. So definitely I unite with you. Like, it's important for us to learn to not call them, but we do have to work more, put certain protocols in place and, be more organized and prepared.
Yeah, I think it's a process, like you were saying. It's like, so I think there's a lot of talk, particularly when we think about abolition, right? Around abolition, the abolition of the carceral state, the police system, military industrial complex, like, you know, all of those things. And when we're thinking about it, but at the same time, we know that, especially when, in particular, I guess when people are talking about abolition, one of the things people always talking about is, at the same time that you're breaking systems down, you also have to be building, right?
Yeah.
And I think that especially if we look at like the history of Black people within the United States, African people within the United States, and if we, I guess, like, let's think about, if we think about like the Black Panther Party for example, or even, you know, you could probably even think about the Nation of Islam and some other organizations that are in that vein, and thinking about what those organizations did when it came to thinking about exactly what we're talking about, how to help to organize your community for protection, and also how to help build your community around, like how to help build community. Because we also know that you just living in an area with other Black people doesn't automatically mean that you are living within community. And we know that it's not by happenstance that exists, because we know that, especially if we look at after enslavement, the ways in which we made deliberate efforts to go and find people who were part of our family that had been taken away and had been sold to other places, that we know that we were diligent about doing those. Like, that's part of where, when people talk about family reunions, that came out of, you know, Black people doing family reunions, particularly in the United States, that came out of, after enslavement, people coming together, right? Black people, African people looking for those who are their families, and trying to bring all their families together. And also the community that we continue to create beyond that, right? As we continue to grow as a people within the United States, as we continue to, as the years continue to go on, we continue to keep community, but we know that community was always attacked, that white people, the, you know, American government, and in the larger sense, doesn't want Black people to actually be living in community, right? Because what does that mean? That means that you will control your own, so they can't come in there and take advantage and plant stuff. We know that, especially if we look at the, you know, Chicago Police Department, I forgot, was it 3 years ago or 5 years ago, when the information was released about just in the sheer, was it like in the thousands of numbers of Black people that they had framed, that the Chicago Police Department had framed. And so even within framing us, that is an economic benefit, like the economic benefit of Black people not really living in community is vast. So it pays, like when people say, you know, like crime pays 999 ways. I hope I'm saying the term right. But like, it's true, because if you make sure our people are disorganized, that they don't have community, it's easy for you to infiltrate them, to come into their communities, abuse their people, come in and kill them, you know, make them feel like they have to call you. And so that's why. And so going back to thinking about how we've seen it done before, like going back to the Black Panther Party example I was saying before, where our organizations that we've had have worked to make us see ourselves as a community, but also live as a community. Like when they would go into crack houses, right, and take them over, abandoned homes and take them over, when they were like making people get off of drugs and stop killing, like those things that were being done, we know that we've done that. And what did those organizations get in return for doing those things and building community? They got infiltrated, they were assassinated, like. And so we have to really understand like the importance. And so just the attack on that shows you the importance of building community, living as community, being able to start to talk to the person that lives next to you, right? That Black person that lives next door to you, you know, in your community. If, you know, you live in an area, if you're blessed enough to live in an area with the, you know, have the majority of the people around you be us, talk to them, smile at them, strike up little conversation. I know, like, even for me, sometimes, not even sometimes, most of the time, I just try to say hi to just random Black people on the street. You know, not everybody want to say hi back. You know, not everybody's going to like look at you, but but when it does happen, and I would say it happens more often than not, like, that, a Black person will respond to you, like, you feel that energy. And we're people that are of community. We are a collective. We're people who are about collectivity, right? So when we talk about Ubuntu, like, when you think about those collective concepts and terms, a lot of them are coming out of Africa, when the ones that they're, wanting to use nowadays, and that, they've been trying to use for decades now. But like, that is who we are, and we're the strongest when we do those things. And so it's just about starting and doing those small steps to be able to build that trust, to build that camaraderie, so that we can feel like, okay, like you're saying, Fernando, I can call on you. I can, there's a group of people that, we can establish that if something happens, we call on them first.
Yeah.
And like, it's just tangible, small steps to get to that point, because we know that we don't want to have to call the police, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fighting.
No, I was just going to say, something slightly. Natasha highlighted something that I forgot when I had mentioned what was going on in the investigation. So they're now trying to paint this as like a domestic violence dispute, which opens the door for them to try and make the shooting justifiable.
Right.
Since they knew each other. And so, this goes back to like what Natasha was saying with framing, but I'm gonna pass this over to Ikemba, because this is the third time now that I've interrupted my brother. So I want to.
No, it's actually, I'm glad you brought that back up, because that was a question I had in regards to how they were going to try to spin this to get this murderer off. And so you kind of just addressed that right there. I'm sure there's probably going to be some other things that they use, but just going back to the systems, because you guys are talking about having things in place, like what will be the alternative? And that's what we have to be doing as organizers when we're coming into the community, pointing out contradictions to the people. What do we have to address those issues, though? Like, what do we have in place? And you find with a lot of organizations, they have a lot to say about the contradictions, but they don't really have a solid plan of action, something that they're planning to put in place. So it's like a lot of theory, but no actual practice. So it's important for us to be able to do that when we go into these communities. Just one of the things that I want to start doing, what I plan to do, not, what I plan to do is get back to tabling and just connecting with people in the community. And the way that my community is set up, I got a perfect location where there's a lot of traffic. But, starting there and identifying people in the community as far as what type of influence that they have in their neighborhood, on their block. But building a network, I think beginning to build a network and having conversations about how we can be an alternative to policing, to the state. So who do we need to identify to be someone that can come in to resolve conflicts, so we can have conflict resolution, so we can, people who are trained in transforming the justice, people who are trained in kicking somebody's ass, people who are trained in, using weapons, having those things in place. And so, sometimes everybody knows somebody knows somebody in the communities. We're all connected some way, somehow, right? But making those connections, so if there is a domestic conflict, there's a domestic issue, we have to get into the habit of picking up the phone and calling family, I grew up in a house where, there was issues with my uncle, my pop. They would be going at it, and they would get on the phone, and we would have family come. I would see my uncles come to the house. Sometimes my grandmother and grandfather would come to the house to intervene. Right? I never saw the police in my home. It was always other family members. So, just creating that culture, because the system has over time created this culture where the people, the masses, become dependent on the very people who are causing the issues, who are causing the contradictions. So we call the police, we go to their courts, we call over years the same people who have taken us from Africa, who have murdered, indigenous people on this land, right? Those same people, now we set up a system where we go to them to resolve our problems. No, they are the problems. Malcolm said, we expect them to go to their court and get some sort of redress. Like, no, you don't go to the criminal's court to get justice. You take your criminal to court, right? And we have to set up our systems, our courts, and so forth. But I think just to rewind really quick, just like something as small as that, just trying to just build network in your community. I would encourage people to do that if you already haven't done that, and see what can evolve from there.
Yeah, I would say even before, saying like, okay, if building networks, like you have to just think about starting to, if you're not already starting to just connect with other Black people on a small talk, like willing to have small talk with them, like willing to say hi, like at least start, to start to build that energy there so that you can build networks. Yeah.
No doubt, that's important.
Because Kimba telling people to grab a bullhorn and a microphone. Go out there, buy a megaphone, get out there on the corner and talk to Natasha, like, slow down. Slow down now. Just knock on your neighbor's door. I'm with it. It all works. It all works, though.
It all works. Right. I got a megaphone.
Yeah, you bring up some really good nostalgia when you were talking about my family never called the cops. Like how you said, it was always uncles or cousins or some shit that happened. I remember my family got into it with another family that was down the street, and I don't want to incriminate anybody, so I'm gonna just say it in Minecraft. But it was like a scene out of like the Bronx Tale, where like it was like some people came,
boys in the hood.
Yeah, it was like a whole brawl, and no cops were called, no nothing. It was family members that came over, even like in family, fights and stuff like that. It was no cops were called. It was always family that mediated it. And I grew up in a household most of my life, since I was 16, with my great grandmother, my great uncles. I grew up in a household where I seen them on a day-to-day basis. It wasn't like they came over, so I lived with my great grandmother until I was 15. So it's like I lived under a different set of rules. It was like a different upbringing. It wasn't a get away with anything type of environment. It was you did something, that's your ass. That's the only cuss word I'll use today. But that's the kind of environment that I wish we could go back to. I wish everybody could have a big mama on the porch, or someone out there disciplining the children, the way that they should. I miss it.
We need that. You're right.
100%. I couldn't get away with I couldn't get away with anything with my great grandmother, and she was blind. She was blind.
She can feel it, man. She can feel it.
She could hear it. We had this freezer in the back, like where the lock was broken, but you could pop the freezer open still, and she'd hear that freezer pop open, and she'd be like, "You better get the hell out that damn refrigerator before I call your daddy. I'm not playing with you."
Her senses were on point.
But yeah, we're gonna take a quick break for Black Power. We'll be back, y'all. Until then, enjoy some words from
You're tuned in to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Rise up.
The problem that you and I have is when we begin to believe in the lie of what America is about. America has never been about anything other than slavery and genocide. There is no tradition of democracy for black people in this country or any place else in the world.
And if we are going to have democracy and freedom and justice, it will come as a consequence of our coming together to organize, to take that justice, to take that democracy, and to take that freedom for ourselves. This is what we have to understand. America is not about to give us freedom. If it hasn't given it to us in the 500 years that we've been in touch with it, why in the hell do you think it's going to give it to you just because you happen to be on the scene today? No such days as that. We are going to have to organize to fight for our freedom. If we do not organize, we shall never be free. If we do not organize, we should never be free. So we have to organize. We do. Here in Philadelphia, a city where they would drop a bomb on an African community, destroy an entire African community, kill 11 people, babies and other children, men and women, have no disregard for black life, would come into the backyard of somebody who's just doing nothing but chilling with their grandchildren and take their lives, snuff their lives out as though it meant nothing. Will come into the basement where another family lives and find a man naked with his children and snuff his life out and won't even offer you an explanation. And you know why they won't offer you an explanation? Because they assume that you're not organized. Because they assume that they don't have to give you an explanation because you got no power. But the road to power is through organization. There are a lot of people and organizations that exist out here today who would tell us that the way we have to get our freedom is somehow making our enemies like us. They offer us a stupid platitude, sometimes silly rhymes like up with hope and down with dope. They say things like this that make no sense, that contribute not one iota to our freedom. Right. Sisters and brothers, there are folk who want to convince us that the way we are supposed to get free is somehow to integrate into the American system. But you don't have the power to integrate. You don't have any kind of power. They tell you what you're supposed to do is fight against racism. But what is racism? Racism is an idea in somebody's head. Racism is an attitude that white people have about you. It's not an idea that kills you. It's not an attitude that killed Philip McCall. It was a bullet. It was a gun. It was white power that did it. And if you want to stop them from killing us, then what we have to fight for is black power, the power over our own lives. So whether they like us or not, they don't have the power to do anything to us. You understand what I'm saying? That's what it's about. That's what it's about. We are the only people in the world that white power has tricked. Have us walking up and down singing, "We shall overcome," trying to get the lynchers to like you, trying to get the ones who kidnap you to like you. Look at where you are, if that's what your struggle is organized around. If they got you organizing, trying to make your enemies like you, you can't never fight your enemy back. You don't have to have the police on the street. He don't worry about you. You can't fight him. Because if you hit him upside with a brick, he won't like you. And if he won't like you, you've defeated yourself. Don't you understand the logic there? Yes, the question is not whether they like you. Hell, I doubt if they like the Chinese any more today than they like the Chinese yesterday. But the Chinese are organized. The Chinese have atomic weapons. The Chinese, they don't want to jump on China, not because they don't like them, but because China is organized and powerful. If you want to stop them from killing black people, then what we have to do is get organized and fight for power. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Has to be our own power. That's what the struggle is about. Sisters and brothers. Yes.
All right.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into the Rise Up Morning Show. I also remember we forgot to let the people know to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it. I think that's I got it right.
That's right.
You was on it. You was on it. See, it was one of them situations. What's that saying? You know, somebody was, somebody was waiting for anybody to do it, and nobody end up. You know, that's the short. That's the short version of it. But yeah, that's what happened. Somebody thought anybody could do it, But everybody wound up.
Everybody looking at each other like, oh, who, one of y'all do it, and nobody end up doing it.
Everybody knew anybody could do it, and nobody wound up doing it. But hey, Natasha came to the rescue, though. Appreciate it.
Good looking, Natasha.
What y'all think about that, though? We gotta get organized, right?
Yeah.
Y'all unite with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite quote that I repeat all the time.
I knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. That's one of my top 5 dead or alive. Kwame Ture. And that's exactly what he said. He said exactly what Kwame Ture was saying. If the white man has the power, if the white man wants to lynch you, that's his problem. If he has the power to lynch you, that's your problem. Mm-hmm. Because you haven't put yourself in a position of power. Like, when we talk, and Miss Wilson, one of your top 5, Akimba.
For sure.
Talks about, Black power and what does it mean to put yourself in a position of power to make sure that it doesn't matter if white people, Europeans, your enemies do not like you. That just like when people talk about, haters this and haters that, but they want to think they haters, they want to do all that other stuff. Like, that's the kind of position as Black people you want to be in. You want to be in a position to talk like that and be like, yeah, I know our haters out there, you're European, those Euro Christians, like they don't like us, but oh well. We're gonna stun on them. We still gonna shine on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still have that power because you're in
power. Yeah,
you still have that because you're in a position of power. And like he said, but we've gotten, convinced. We've been convinced that we need our oppressors to like us, and that we have
change
to care
their mind
more about their feelings than our liberation, than our freedom, than that of our children and our future generations.
Yeah. Exactly. And having to depend on laws to get them to do the right thing. Because going back to what Kwame, to who you just mentioned, Kwame Ture, right? Kwame Ture talked about laws, like those laws aren't for us. Like, we know we have the right to do these things, the right to live, the right to freely express ourselves. But as white folks that are curtailing those rights, right, or abridging those rights. So those are the ones. Those laws are to get them to change their behavior as it relates to Black folks. It doesn't have anything but just to have Black people having to have this dependence on laws being put in place to protect us by another group of people, or to have influence. Like, influence is a form of power. But there's a difference, there's levels to it, though. There's a difference between, influencing someone and having the power to do something yourself. And Charles Barron, who was on this platform, we just had him come past the college and do a talk, and he brought that up. He talked about those differences. Like, we trying to influence the oppressor. There's a difference between trying to influence the oppressor to give us resources to build something than us just building ourselves, saying, hey, this is what we want to do, or trying to influence someone to give us land to be able to do something, rather than just having the power to just take that land, seize that land, and do it ourselves. So we're in a situation where we're not able to exercise that type of power, right? The ability to do and so forth. We have to try to influence and change the minds of these European. Well, at least that's what a lot of our folks try to do. I ain't trying to do any of that, man. I ain't trying to change nobody's mind.
Exactly.
Because also the thing is, they have the information is there, and even if those of who could claim that they don't know, there's enough who do know that they can be in their own community, making sure they are teaching their people so that they can, change their behavior. Like, I think H. Rap Brown said, like, Black power for Black people, yellow power for, yellow people, red power for red people. And he said, for white folks, just be humane. That's all we need you to do. Just be human. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. Nah, but I think, when he speaks about, when the chairman speaks about, what makes you think that it's going to be different for you now that you're, now that you're here?
Right.
That's key, right? Because that happens over and over, right? He just said it, like it's been going on for 500 years, and now we think we're over here thinking that now it's going to be different now, you know. And that's also because that also goes back to what Natasha's saying, like we have to know our history, you know. We have to know our radical history, right? Not our history from a European perspective, but we have to understand our radical history, and in order to understand what's going on today and how to move forward, right? So yeah, I think that was key when he spoke about that. And also, I wanted to shout the brother out that was in the background yelling. Yo, he was.
I love it. I love it.
It was going.
I love it, bro.
Going hard.
Read it.
My favorite part, man. Hearing him
He was going
like
hard,
that,
man.
I wish I was there for that one. I wasn't there. I probably was in the street somewhere when I don't know when.
I thought that was you in there yelling.
Nah, that video probably back in the 90s, man.
Yeah, that was
maybe could be early too. Yeah. Chairman.
The chairman been around, man. Yo, shout out, much respect, man. Much respect to
for
chairman.
For sure. Yeah. That's what actually brought the Uhuru movement to Philadelphia, was the move bombing, which happened in '85. So the movement been in Philadelphia since then. You had mentioned history too. I want to quickly, Natasha, I had sent you an email. Did you get that email about the conference? Because this would be just to inform folks too. I like our people to be on the things, just in case they want to get involved. But the National Council for Black Studies is having a 49th annual conference. It's going to be in Cincinnati from March 19th to the 22nd next year. And I'll bring it up again, but just to give people a heads up. So the theme is Sankofa, celebrating solidarity, power, and Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. So there's a call for papers in case, somebody is interested in presenting at that conference. I'm definitely going to be there doing my thing. But yeah.
If you make sure,
I'm serious. I'm going to be, yeah. It's closer than California. I'm going to say that much. Cincinnati up the street. So I can do that. Not that I couldn't do California, but it was just, I think, a lot going on at that
somebody
time
said they was gonna go, and then when it was time to go,
damn,
what you want me to say? Right?
Yeah,
I said somebody. I didn't say who it was.
I gave myself up. Yeah.
I said
they accepted my paper and everything. They accepted my paper. Last minute I had to pull out.
It's interesting. Somebody that was there, who went to a particular stayed to go to the particular session for your paper.
I
had to tell them, you were there. But I'm gonna tell you later who it was, because then you are gonna feel bad. But
yeah. Because I had that paper is on deck too. I'm ready to do that one. Speaking of papers, speaking of text, real quick. I know we're probably going into a story in a minute, but I had put something in the chat. We were speaking earlier about Benito Sylvain, who's a Haitian. I don't know if I don't want to say. I'm gonna say revolutionary. But he was one of the founders of the Pan-African Association and the Pan-African Conference. Many people give Henry Sylvester Williams they usually give him the what am I trying to say? The recognition recognition for starting, rightfully so. But we're talking about an organization. He wasn't by himself. So, like I said, Benito Sylvain, he wrote this paper, but it's in French, or he wrote this book. So y'all can help me. What's the type? I think this one right here, I think, is about him. I don't know if this is a book by him, but the other one, if you click on that other link,
while you're switching over the links, I did want to add that there's another conference that I just learned about, but I think it's because also when we think about Black Power, I think it's one thing to say Black Power, you know, to talk about it, and I feel like in the video Omali Yashiteli was, you know, delineating it, right, breaking it down so people can kind of understand. And I think that in terms of, you know, when we're thinking about building Black Power and building our own institution and building our own ways of thinking about how do we structure our communities, how do we structure forms of economics, how do we structure forms of protection and all of those many different layers that are encompassed with having your, you know, running your own nation, right, being in control of your own people. The information is key to build upon, right? Because so there's so many different ways. And so speaking of the conferences, you know, where you can, you know, think around some of these ideas, I found out recently about a conference called ASWAD. I don't know if anyone has ever heard about it. It's called the Association for the Study of the Worldwide African Diaspora. And their conference is for the 2025 conference is going to be in, I believe, Missouri. I think it's going to be in Missouri in 2025. But
you don't know where in Missouri? It's St. Louis.
It's state, and the title for the conference is "I've Known Rivers: The Ecologies of Black Life and Resistance." Okay. I'll drop it over to you so you can kind of see it. But it's gonna be in Missouri. It's gonna be in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, okay. I'm probably slide out to that one. Yeah, appreciate that. What's the title of that book though? Or y'all, there's some old French. Y'all don't speak this French.
I translated
which
it.
one?
Oh, you translated it. Okay, all right.
Which one?
But you can't translate the book in English, just so y'all know. Historical study of the fate of the natives and that'll be an interesting read, you know, because Natasha, you studying French right now. That'd be a good one.
I'm learning French, so hey.
Hey, learn with this right here. You could be the one to discuss this. Give us an analysis of this text right here.
And Fernando already speak French. He's actually there right now.
But Ikemba's acting like, you know, I'm not around. He's like, forget Fernando. Natasha.
No, I'm saying she's learning. This would be a good study. That's a given. It's a given. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we're gonna get a little study circle in French going on for get Buna
for African history. Yeah, Buna.
Yeah, I'll study with Fernando and Buna.
Good. There you go. Let's
get it.
So we going into a story. We going into a story.
Yeah.
Isaac is the captain of this ship. I'm following his lead. He's sitting there acting like
okay, Captain Isaac.
He on the ones and twos, so you know I'm responding to
Isaac. You had a good story you wanted to go over.
So we can start with your story, Akimba.
I'm over here saying
start. I gotta drop.
Yeah, was it the Central African Republic? You know.
Yo, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Don't drop off just yet. Hold on, Natasha.
Yeah, I'll drop off after this story.
Yeah, we about to come on, Natasha. Now this is you know, a very interesting story. It's a lot of contradictions dealing with this. Central African Republic diamond export embargo lifted by Kimberley process after 11 years. And I actually wrote a paper on Central Africa, but I was looking at the Shalina group in Kmart, but the Kmart group, we'll say that for another day. But the Kimberley process launched in 2000 to combat so-called blood diamonds, legally mined gems whose proceeds are used to fund regional conflicts and terrorist groups. The decision to lift the embargo completely from the Central African Republic was taken on Friday by the Kimberley Process Civil Society Coalition, which is an organization monitoring and regulating the global diamond trade, according to a statement by the coalition. The export ban imposed in 2013 after the overthrow of President Francois. Is that Francois?
Yeah, Francois.
Francois.
Bozizé.
See, I speak French too. It was partially lifted in 2015 and 2018. However, 2/3 of the 24 listed diamond mining areas remain under sanctions. Quote, this decision cannot mark the end of responsibility for the Kimberley process, the Central African Republic government, or the international diamond community to engage with problems of poverty, conflict, and fraud linked to Carr's diamonds. Rather, it should mark the beginning of a more active and committed approach, one that fosters growth in diamond mining areas, supports artisanal and small-scale mining, combats smuggling, and seeks justice for human rights abuses, the statement reads. In September, the president of the Central African Republic, Faustin Archambault, Touadera, called for the end of the embargo on the diamond mining in the country, speaking at the 79th UN General Assembly in New York. It was a short article, but I think a very important one. Going back to the Kimberley process again. Like, this is a group that is supposed to prevent the use of diamonds to fight overthrow. When we talk about blood diamonds, like, what are blood diamonds? They consider like blood diamonds that are used to overthrow a government or undermine a government, right? Used in that type of conflict, which is very limited when you think about it. Because one of the things that came to mind just discussing like what blood diamonds are, what about how diamonds can be used indirectly? Because I was looking at a story, when I say indirectly, I'm saying it can help build the wealth of a country. So if we look at a country like Israel, and I was looking at a story of how, Israel is using resources that are money that is being gained from the sale of diamonds, importing, exporting, and cutting diamonds, how they're using that to help fund the war in Gaza, or the genocide in Gaza that is taking place. And then there's like human rights abuse concerns as well that the Kimberley process doesn't address. They don't address the human rights abuses, the exploitation of labor. Say that again.
No. I was just like, through poor pay. There's lack of health care. There's the environmental impact. The Kimberley process is not concerned with any of that. But again, I still, going back to my initial point, I still think that what is considered blood diamonds is how they define that is limited. But that's because the Kimberley process, they still, work in the interests of these corporations. Yeah. And going back to Israel again, like I was reading, I don't have all of the numbers down, but a significant proportion, like somewhere around like 23%, I think, of the GNI, as well as the GDP, is from diamonds. It's from diamond, the cutting of diamonds and the trading of diamonds. And then I was looking at their largest partner is America. Like, America imports something around 60% of the diamonds that are 60 to 70% of the diamonds imported into America are imported from Israel comes to the United States of America, right? So that goes to the United States interests, the corporate interests in the United States with Israel. So you begin to start putting these pieces together and seeing why the USA has such a not just that, but part of it's definitely like an economic, a business relationship that the United States have with Israel to keep them being that one country that vetoes the one country that vetoes a ceasefire, demand for a ceasefire, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, Isaac, you brought up something earlier about the U.S. It was something else, right, that they did in regards to Israel. Did I maybe I was thinking about something else, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think too. I drew
drawing a blank. But yeah, but the U.S. being, you know, that one country that vetoes we were talking about Netanyahu.
Being arrested by the
being arrested. Yeah.
Arrest warrants being issued out by Netanyahu.
Yeah. And you know, the United States won't support that
exactly
at all. But that's because of the relationship. But I thought this was an important story, though, to such. I don't know if y'all had anything.
No, I did, and this is a very valid point and a very valid story that, for one, has a lot of contradictions and leaves a lot out. Doesn't equate the fact that there will be, especially in the areas where there are diamond-rich sediments, where African people will be, one, displaced, and then two, controlled by a said private sector that is then working in reciprocity with the government system that sold out its own people in order for this to happen. When we understand, like how you said, the valid point that how is it that Israel takes up almost 80% of the diamond extraction within Africa, but they export more, but they don't grow it. Like, they don't have diamonds that are under their grounds. It's because they work in reciprocity with imperialism. When we align this too with just recently, Agent Orange being selected, to run a second term under, to help aid imperialism, to help move the mass escalation that it needs in order for it to survive. This works in reciprocity with that. This works in alignment with that, is that they don't give anything. They don't care about if our African brothers and sisters are subjugated to basically a time period in which where they have no self-determination, their rights are taken away, and their land is being exploited. And it's being exploited to then suit the needs of all these imperial powers that themselves don't see Africans as human. So this is a valid article, and I might have to steal this so that I might have to have you back. I might have to have you on tomorrow if we can on my mornings, just so we can break this down, because people don't understand Israel is one of the biggest diamond export and importers, and they do that through the reins of imperialism, and in America making it legal under the guises of imperialism for them to do so. While they're exterminating Palestinians in Palestine, they're also subjugating the African people to exploitation and the underdevelopment of their countries via what Walter Rodney would classify that as. Is it an underdeveloped country coming to a developing country, raping them of their resources, making them underdeveloped, making them destabilized, and coming back and saying, "Hey, you're the problem for your own for what we did. You're the issue. We just came in. There was just some rocks that we needed, in order to make some guap." That's
real quick with the import export though, really quick, just to give a stat. As of 2016, cut diamonds were Israel's largest export product, comprising 23.2% of all exports. And remember what I said, who their largest partner is, as far as like where those diamonds are going. United States of America.
That's their largest 60%. Export. Where are those diamonds coming from?
They're
export, like they got the diamonds over there.
It's just like when people talk about cocoa, right? Like Swiss chocolate, French
absolutely.
chocolate, Belgian chocolate. They don't produce chocolate. They don't have that as a resource. And I think too, when we're thinking about particularly, let's say diamonds, for example, because I feel like that's one of the ones where you see, just when you see the pictures of diamond mines, to me it just like I feel like I can feel the earth hurting.
Did you guys see that video of all of those Congolese brothers and sisters looking at the mountain like collapsing, and it like showing like all the rich copper deposits that were there, and then like the camera turns for a little bit and you see like hundreds of Congolese people that like somehow, some way are like happy about this? It's like they've manipulated, millions of people into believing that destroying our motherland is what's needed for them to
be able
survive.
to-
It's
yeah.
a deep manipulation, and again, I don't call it green revolution. I call it green imperialism, because that's what it is. When you go and you shave portions of mountains. I was driving at one point from San Diego back home when I was living in California, and I turned to the side and I'm sitting and we're caravanning, so I'm in a bus, in a van, and I'm looking and I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, and it's them shaving a whole entire mountain just so that they could gain some type of rock sediment that's good for concrete. Like just stuff like it's anywhere from concrete to blood diamonds. It's anywhere from rubber, or it's anywhere from fracking and stealing the Mother Earth's blood,
Digging,
also known as
and digging for oil,
and oil.
and stealing the oil in the oceans,
but
and
even the oil's byproduct like nylon, plastic, and of it itself. These are all components. Ecocide, like it's all omnipresent, and we have to really like hone in on that. They all work, and it's like different departments.
And what's the book that you, before we got on air, what was the book that you mentioned, Isaac? Pollution and Imperialism?
Pollution is Colonialism by Max Liboiron, which I'm trying to find the time to email some people in regards to this, just to keep it 100. I'm gonna be coming out with like 4 articles in regards to the presidential election, in regards to what the African diaspora needs to be doing. I've actually been having conversations that I've already been talking about this, and so I'm just formulating those conversations into text. And so I genuinely want people to understand that there are indigenous minds like Dr. Jessica Hernandez, like Dr. Max Liboiron, like Jason Moore, that have talked about fossil fuel extraction and how its components and connections to colonialism. And so Ikemba bringing this up is something that's very valid, because we have Trump that's getting ready to be put in office, and he's putting every baboon that is nonsensical, that is rooted in
that's an insult to baboons.
Insult to baboons.
That's an insult to baboons.
He's putting these Iranian, anti-China, anti-Iran, neo-colonialists, oligarchs in power that also serve different Again, when we look at this as like a supermarket, they work in different departments and shit and stuff. And so I'm sorry, y'all.
You catching it. It's okay. Continue.
We have, like Hegseth. He works in the Department of Manipulation and upholding the values of neo-fascist Nazism. We have Burgum that believes in extracting not just oil and fossil fuels, but also believes in green imperialism, which people classify as a green revolution with all of these electric cars. You can go back on episodes where I've talked about this. I used to work for Copart as a specialist. They used to work on Teslas, the lithium batteries, especially when the Tesla is totaled, is completely trashed. I live less than 45 minutes out in the middle of the Nevada desert, where there are lithium lakes, literal lakes that are just lithium vats and so we have to understand this is detrimental to our environment. Ecocide works in reciprocity with imperialism, and that just highlighted how certain modes of production are working and aligning with even the election in of it itself. Is that, look, they're bringing back certain aspects like the Kimberly, like this project, and then at the same time they're also bringing things like the Keystone Pipeline. I just was reading about last night. They're trying to bring back the Keystone XL pipeline back abroad, which is, again, disproportionately affects indigenous communities and their land. So what does that sound like, for the viewers in the chat? That sounds like imperialism to me. That sounds like settler colonialism, which we talk about. Ikemba's a part of the show, and Natasha's a part of the show called We Charge Colonialism. So what should we do? We should charge colonialism in this matter. Exactly. It's very vital. Shout out to Vital Hoops. I'm just queuing everybody up in this case.
He said,
no, but and then to get back to the diamonds real quick, and then they got us thinking that these are accessories that we need to get for ourselves on top of that. So our people are out here. Soon as we get a dollar, we out here running to get this shit. You know what I'm saying? And we rocking it proudly. And
who perpetuates these false conscious narratives? It's the blackness leadership class. That's not just politics either. That's also celebrities, as Malcolm X classified.
I mean, how many rappers we know got those? Got 5 of those. That part. Especially nowadays, I feel like
Weezy's whole grill is
I feel like there was
exploitation.
A point, like,
Flavor Flav's clock is like exploitation.
I feel like back in the 90s, like in the late 90s to going to the early 2000s, right, when it was all about bling, and then the bling kind of went away.
Yeah, it chilled out for a little bit.
Yeah, it chilled out, and then all of a sudden, in the last 5 years, I feel like. It's just been the whole diamonds, having these chains crusted in all these and diamonds has been
You got Kendrick Lamar, who just in one of his most recent songs quoted the Atlanta slave trade, but yet will wear a crown, a Jesus diamond encrusted crown. It's like, I want to know if you know how many people of your own that look just like you, that are from the same diaspora from you, they were exploited for you to have that crown, and then for you to sit in front of or for a flag, a colonial flag that has exploited your people, for you to sit in front of and then say, hey, I'm gonna go and now put myself as a squire, as a spectacle for the Super Bowl, which we all know is a colonial construct as well. It is a contemporary version of slavery, just they give millions of dollars to these individuals that are from our diaspora to accept being traded away and wearing brands on their backs that at this point are not physical brands, but they are material brands
nonetheless. I mean, it's still marking a particular it's still sending a particular message. The marking is still sending at that kind of particular message. But I also because that's one of the things I was going to say, connected to what Fernando was saying. When we're thinking about, when we critique colonialism and neocolonialism, and at the same time we're thinking about building, right? What does it mean then what does it look like? What are the things that were the sources of economics for imperialists and colonialists that we no longer want to have as sources of economics for us? We're thinking about building for our future and what that looks like. And so, because I think too, sometimes when we're having conversations about getting colonialists out of Africa, right, getting them to stop abusing the earth and taking the resources, that I think sometimes what might get lost in the conversation is, or what sometimes people take up and imply is that, okay, well, we just need to be the ones in control of these things, but some of it we just have to stop. So it's not that necessarily, we have to now take control of the diamond mines. We need to get the imperialists out, period. So we already know that.
Absolutely. The
resources and the extraction that they were using in order to benefit and, grow their wealth, we should not be continuing those same practices. We should not be, producing and mining for diamonds. We should not be producing and mining for all of these, like for coltan and all these other things. A lot of this stuff we just need to straight up cut out. Like we need a moratorium on technology. We don't need no more technology. We don't need a new car every year. Like, it doesn't make sense that like all of these industries and areas of profit for these capitalists, we need to take them over and kind of distribute in a more like socialist or more communal way. No, we need to, like, a lot of this stuff we just need to get rid of, because it's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't benefit us, and it doesn't benefit the environment. Like, and we can just as much as, and when we talk about power is also the ability to name, right, and to determine what your reality is. And so we can determine what is valuable, right? It's the power to decide what is valuable and what's not. We can determine what is valuable and what's not. They decided that, oh, we found, some of these clear rocks and it's very valuable. But for us, if we're coming from our own indigenous African perspectives and worldview, that stuff is there is no value in that. So we're not going to say, oh, let's trade in this, let's export this, let's mine this, because those things, especially because what is valuable is the water, is the clean water that we can drink. What is valuable is the rich soil that we can grow food in. What is valuable is being able to not have the sky polluted, and for us to be able to drink, to breathe clean air. Like, that stuff is the valuable stuff. Like, nature within itself being healthy, that is valuable. All these other things, like, the oil that comes out of that is extracted out of the ground, these rocks that, they call diamonds that are extracted out of the ground, they're defining reality, because they also came up with the word diamond, right? When we think about that, it's just a clear rock.
You just dropped something though. You just dropped something.
We might as well end the show right here.
I hope the people got that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that word, right?
Yeah, you could choose to mean, you could pick up.
Nobody's buying a clear rock though. Nobody's going to buy a clear rock.
Nobody's buying a clear rock. And you can say, like, it cuts hard. Well, you decided to have people wear these clear rocks, but you say that the tip of what they call a diamond can cut through. It's one of those things that is supposed to be able to cut through. I forget whatever kind of material, but it's just like, you don't want to use it. You're not saying like, oh, let's use some of these to cut through particular types of metals that we need or something. You're like, oh, just wear it around your neck. Just put it on your fingers. Like, what? This clear rock,
and people become mesmerized by, like, at the clear rocks. They look at them clear rocks that's just sitting on your pinky. That's amazing.
Clear rocks on my hand.
Amazing. It's not doing nothing. Just right there on your pinky. That's amazing. Oh man.
But yet the other color rocks, they don't mean nothing because they're not clear.
No, 100%.
All right.
And real quick too, like the diamond industry. Hold on, just 5 more minutes. Natasha, the diamond industry contributes around $1 billion annually to Israeli defense ministry. I just wanted to put a stat because I know I had mentioned the use of the resources the wealth that's built from this diamond trade, and how that's used in occupied Palestinian territory. And again, going back to the definition, though, this genocide that's taking place by the Israeli, by the Zionists against the Palestinians, those diamonds aren't being considered blood diamonds according to this definition, right? Of blood diamonds. Right. And so
playing the game.
Yeah, so the Kimberley process doesn't concern itself about stopping that trade, but it'll say like 99% of the diamonds that are on the market aren't blood diamonds as a result of their work that's being done. But it's not taking into account the genocide that's taking place. It's not taking into account even the wars that's taken, like Ukraine and Russia war, right? And the proxy wars, because there's diamonds. Russia has its hands in diamonds as well. Whether it's, you're talking about Sudan, Congo, they're all over Africa. But I think that's why it's important for us to define, right, what blood diamonds are, to define our reality. Because as long as they're defining and we're working off their definitions, they can continue to commit these atrocities under the pretext that, their reasoning is just, that they're fighting against terrorists and so forth. And so I just thought that was important. And again, it still doesn't address the exploitation. The Kimberley process still doesn't address the oppression and exploitation of African people when it's talking about blood diamonds. So it's okay. These diamonds are cool to trade, even though, people can hardly survive. That the people who are doing this labor for these diamonds and other resources can barely survive, right? Barely put food on their plate. serious contradiction. Just wanted to make sure that we uplift that.
No, 100%, man. I think you, what you bring up is key. And what Natasha was talking about, like redefining what's valuable, that goes back to what we were talking about a few shows back, having an African center worldview, what I'm saying? Understanding what's valuable, redefining what being successful is, within understanding we're living under a system of oppression, what I'm saying? And we're still trying to measure success through the oppressor's lens, what I'm saying? We have to redefine all of that, what I'm saying? And it's about what you were saying. It's about building, as we destroy, we got to build, what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the way it makes me think about, when we're talking about defining the world for ourselves, it makes me think about Kujichagulia, right? Self-determination, the ability to name for ourselves, determine for ourselves, like what our reality and trajectory is, and the way in which we know that Kwanzaa's coming up, right? Kwanzaa's coming up. We, the way capitalists push Christmas, how, Christmas, if you look at outside now, particularly in America, I don't know how it is in France, Fernando, but it's been Christmas apparently in America since October. Like Christmas,
they started to push it here too. They're starting.
And I feel like in the same way that that they push it for obviously capitalist economic gains, we should be let's push Kwanzaa right now. Kwanzaa is already here. Let's start Habari Ghani every all the time.
I've been seeing some stuff too.
Reminding ourselves, of the principles, the key principles that we're talking about, right? When we talk about them all the time in the show, in particular, like Imani, Kujichagulia, Ujima, like we talk about doing those things, and I know that like thinking about Kwanzaa, people also will say, what we need to do is not just have Kwanzaa and participate in Kwanzaa. Celebrate Kwanzaa during that time, but that we need to remind ourselves throughout the year about the principles, about doing the work of Kujichagulia, about doing the work of Ujama and Ujima.
Yeah, can I do a quick story? Since you brought up Kwanzaa, I was telling y'all in the chat before we got started, early in the morning, where Isaac at, it's like 3 a.m. right now. But I was in a work meeting and I got into was about to get into it. My man fell back. But we were talking about Kwanzaa and I'm on a committee at work to put on some events throughout the years, cultural events. And so Kwanzaa came up and I had said that, whatever we're going to do around Kwanzaa, I'll be more than happy to support and help organize the Kwanzaa program. And so I'm going to say a Zionist, so I'll get in trouble. A Zionist came on mic and was saying that, well, if we're going to do Kwanzaa, then we have to do Hanukkah. But the way Say said we're going to do Kwanzaa, then we absolutely have to do Hanukkah because we don't want people to be left out. And so, I was so furious, man. If I was from Europe, I would have been pink. I was so mad, man. Yo. I started. I was so unprofessional that somebody had to say, "Hold on, we're gonna do this one at a time." They had to do that. Like we're gonna do this when he's finished. Then you can say what you have to say. And there was some other people feeling like I was feeling too. And but my man was out of line for one. Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. Like, why are you even comparing it, right? And I don't know if that was my first point, but I had made the point too that we don't absolutely have to do anything. Like you can pitch something, and you know, if you want to organize it, go right ahead. Nobody's stopping you from doing it. But because we are doing Kwanzaa, doesn't mean we absolutely have to do something for. I was so tight, man, because then he started talking about people being going to feel left out because of Kwanzaa. If we don't do this, for one, we recognize all of the Jewish holiday, even if we don't do anything. They're recognized at the college. We observed them. So, you know, but he was just out of line. But I had some other people to back my play. But I kept it brief because I said I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble.
I do think that what you experienced was that the position that Black people, you know, African people in America, and in the world too, have been put into the position of where if you as an African person put forward something that you think is needed for our people, because we are continuing to struggle for liberation, to be alive, to practice our culture that they've been, you know, consistently for thousands of years now, trying to get us to forget. Like, and when I say thousands of years, I'm including Africa in that, right? Because we know wars go back, you know, not just the 400 years of enslavement, but even before that. But if we talk about in particular America, when we're thinking about like the hundreds of years, if we want to say that, if we want to like particularly focus on America, that they've been trying to get us to not do. And so, but like the litany of things that, you know, we're fighting against. And so we have to fight to be able to live as ourselves, to think as ourselves, to reconnect to, you know, that the Africanness of us. And when you bring up for something for Black people, people make you feel like, oh, you should have also included all these other people in groups because you can't just speak for your own group. That just, you know what I'm saying? And they make it kind of feel like, you know, if you're speaking for African people, that means then you're disregarding other people. Like, and so therefore they feel like they need to come in and say something, or, you know, they need to make you feel like, okay, well, in any breath that I speak, I cannot just speak for my people. I have to speak for every other people. And therefore, you know, that's how the conversation has got to go. When we should be allowed to just speak for ourselves. If you, like you're saying, if there's something for your people that you feel that you need, you can bring it up, but don't bring it up in an antagonistic way because I brought it up something for having to do with African people.
That's right, 100%. And they try to make us feel guilty about bringing something up for our people.
Like, oh, man, exactly. That's the game. And it's similar to what Omali Yashiteli was saying, right? It's similar, going back to the video that he was talking about. Like, that's what they've made you feel like you need to get the approval of, you know, everyone else, your oppressors, everything else, in order for you to do something for yourself. If everyone else don't approve of it, if they think it shouldn't be this way, if that, you know, they have some critique, if they whatever, you know, that's a problem.
Thomas Sankara said, "He who feeds you controls you." So I think, you know,
you know, they're coming with the bars this morning. Hey, Fernando, I see why they like these two. I see why they like these two.
we got to step up our quoting game, man. Hey, listen, Amilcar Cabral said.
All right. Now we have to come and see what the fuss was about, man. But I see. All right.
The Libra effect is in full effect.
It's all right. Always in effect.
Yo, we gotta find a name, Kemba. We gotta find a name, comrade.
Not Libra's effect.
The ballers. You play basketball, right? I play basketball, man. The ballers, man.
I like basketball. I play it too.
See, we're the Libra effect. We control all facets of every media.
Black Power Media Rise Up show, and we are reloaded, man. I wish we could have kept that Tony Montana clip.
I know.
I guess
Reloaded.
it was honest.
I reloaded.
It was honest about that, right? Yeah. But now I appreciate everybody tapping in. And again, if this is your first time with us, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss these conversations, as well as all of the other shows that we have on Black Power Media. And make sure you visit the website as well, blackpowermedia.org.
Right.
Yeah. We're gonna go to a quick little break for Black Power, and then we'll come back and close out the show. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody that's been commenting in, the live chat, everybody that comments after, all the likes that we get, everybody. A big part of keeping this afloat is donating to our Patreon, which is scrolling below at patreon.com/Black Power Media Reloaded. That's what helps keep, it keeps the lights on, so to say. But nonetheless, we'll be back. Enjoy some words from the great Walter Rodney. We'll be back, y'all. Rise up.
Rise up.
Africa. In San Francisco, on African Liberation Day, Brother Walter Rodney, an African historian, noted both the importance of African Liberation Day in terms of our African identity and some of the root causes for our problem of identification.
I have met brothers and sisters who say that their mother tongue, quote unquote, is French, Spanish, Dutch, Portuguese, as well as English, which we speak. And because of this, we have a problem of identification. We do not know whom we are. And that is why this gathering is of great symbolic importance, because it is an act of identification. We are saying that we identify with the African people of the African continent. We are saying that we are an African people. And when we make this identification, have no illusions about the fact that this is a very revolutionary initiative. It is a rejection of every other form of identification which the white society has asked us to accept. Let me draw your attention to something which white universities and white libraries practice. And this is a university community. Numerous universities lie around this land. You go into their libraries and check the Library of Congress cards. Under Europe or European, you will find all entries listed concerning the continent of Europe. You will also find entries listed about Europeans in East Africa, Europeans in North Africa, Europeans in Asia and Australia. Look under the Chinese, you will find entries listed not only for mainland China, but for Malaysia and for the Chinese in North America. But look on the Africa and the Africans, the only entries on the Africans relate to the continent itself. There are no entries on the Africans overseas. There is no such category. Africans who have been raped from the continent mysteriously disappear and become Negroes.
It ended on that one.
Hey, that's how we gotta end, man. We should end on that every show, man.
Exactly. With that being said, you guys.
Walter Rodney, one of the greatest, man.
Yeah.
Top 5 dead or alive.
Yeah. I'm missing two books out of his catalog. And he's been
which ones you missing?
1917 Russian Revolution, and I believe I'm missing actually it's not even a body of his work. I think it's something that the Rodney Foundation
someone else wrote about him.
Someone else wrote about him. Hey, I know what it is. It's your president. Your president wrote a book. That's the book.
He definitely wrote a book
that I don't have. But I know there's a multitude of others, but that's one book that I do not have, and I would love to get it in English.
It's not in English yet. It's not available in English.
Yeah, because I tried the French. I tried French, and I'd be damned if I learn another colonial language.
Hey man, you got Natasha's gonna teach you now, man.
Hey, Natasha's also gonna keep us in me in dietary check as well. So
that's right. Everybody out here on that plant base. Let's go.
Exactly. Rise Up is going plant based. I hope
No doubt.
everybody's prepared. We're all going plant based.
No doubt. That's
But,
what's up. Hey
yeah,
man, I appreciate y'all, man. This was a good
Yeah.
one. Shout out to everybody checking us out. Shout out to the comrade Kalanji.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
And,
he's on suspension right now, but you know
we got him on suspension. You know,
he'll be back ASAP.
It's okay. He'll be back. You know, suspensions over here revolve a lot of clerical work. So that's what he's doing right now. A lot of clerical work. For the people. But nonetheless,
I hear that.
Anji will be back. If he won't be back, then that they'll be.
He's still doing clerical work. Yeah.
He's still doing clerical work, and we extending his suspension. Nonetheless, y'all, we will see you guys next week. We got some heavy hitters actually, I guess, coming next week. So stay tuned for that. They will be unnamed until then, but nonetheless, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Have a great weekend, y'all.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, where the battle is to love yourself and function in society, where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares. Mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish, what tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution, it's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution, where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. A chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution, it's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution, where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.